Make Every Second Count speaker. Now, I am so pumped up for this show because this is the show where we help you deal with the things you are dealing with in life and give you the opportunity to ask as many questions as you would like. But my background is I was in a severe car accident. I spent 2.5 months in a coma and 3.5 months in the hospital. They told me I wouldn't walk again, but I am here now. I am walking. I am loud. I am proud. Trust me on loud because I am definitely loud. But hey, I'm proud of myself. But I digress. So, I ask you if you would please share this episode out, invite all kinds of people to watch it, and make sure you give us all kinds of thumbs up, hearts, frowny faces, cry faces. Just give us some kind of emoji to help us trick the algorithms on any of the number of the social medias that I am on at the moment. So, with no further ado, I would like to bring Hope to the stage so you guys can hope for the future. Hi,
Hi,
Hope. How are you this evening?
I'm good, Jeff. Thanks for having me here.
Yes, you are quite welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to take it away, give yourself a short introduction, tell a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do, and more importantly, why you do what you do. And then we will hop into it. But I am going to be inviting a few people on my phone at the moment.
Okay, sounds good.
I'm paying attention. I'm just looking down for a minute.
It's like my kids. All right, so welcome everyone. My name's Hope Reger. I am from Ohio. I am from the outskirts of Dayton, Ohio, in Xenia. I work for a financial institution and have for over 26 years. I bring on new hires into the organization. I'm lucky enough for that. But my side job, my extracurricular job, is Grief to Hope, where I have been qualified to talk about grief because of my situation that I have with my son, which we'll definitely dive into. Grief to Hope is a virtual support program. It's 7 weeks, it's free, it's available to anyone, and we start our new session in January. So I look forward to doing that, as well as Grief to Hope, the book is out for those that cannot or I'm not comfortable with doing a virtual session. They just want to know what the Grief to Hope is all about as well. So that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, that's amazing. I find it to be awesome that you have taken a bad situation, or as you call it, a devastation, and turned it into determination to help you and yourself live your best life. So I find that very respectable. Thank you so much for doing that. I know it takes a lot sometimes, and we need strong people.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And you as well.
Thank you, Hope. I appreciate that very much. So, Hope, I know personally because of my car accident and all that we often have to grow through something in life. Now, I say grow through something because I don't think we have to just go through something. We must take lessons away from that something and learn something new from that helps us eventually get out of it. So, has there been something that you have had to grow through to get to where you are now?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So, as I mentioned in the beginning intro, is I lost my son to murder. He was 19 years old in 2016, and as you can imagine, a mother dealing with something that horrific. is probably the worst pain that anybody can experience as a parent, is to lose a child. And what had happened was simply him and his roommate got into an altercation where they were yelling back and forth. It was just a verbal argument that young adults do. And the gentleman, they started to physically fight. And even though Justin didn't have any weapons of any kind, the gentleman decided to pull a gun, put it to Justin's chest, shot, and killed him. Now, in doing so, of course, with all the grief and that tragic, and just imagine having to deal with that trial side. So you have sort of like, you're dealing with your son's death, but then you're also dealing with, an investigation, a murder, and the person that shot and killed Justin absolutely admitted to that, and told, the police that. But what had happened was, several months down the road, having to deal with that trial, it went to a grand jury, and the grand jury dismissed it as self defense, even though
Oh,
Justin did not have any kind of weapon on him. And it was started out as a fight. There was no guns or anything that he had. So he was completely let go. So, as you say, grow with that. It absolutely grew me as a person, because I had to take that traumatic nightmare experience, plus on top of dealing with the justice system and all that swirling together. I had two choices. I could lay in bed forever and nobody would question it. Nobody would be angry with me. Everybody would understand.
yeah.
Or I can take all of that energy and all of that revenge and hate and anger and mad and just everything, all that awfulness, and turn it into something positive and something that's beneficial, and the way that I can honor my son for the way that he lived versus the way that he was taken. And that's what I've decided to do. And that's how I've grown into that. So that's a perfect example.
Yeah. So were you upset with the grand jury that ruled in self-defense?
Oh yeah, I was mad as hell at everything and everybody. I was mad. Listen, I'll tell you what. One of the things that I had to do was, people say, "Did you forgive him?" And I say, I've forgiven him in a way that I'm not going to allow him to take anything else from me. I'm not going to allow him to take anything else from my life, my family. He's already taken Justin, and now I have to give and live for him. And I'm not going to allow any more time or effort put forth to him. So that's, yes. At first, I was mad. I was so angry, but I couldn't stay there.
Now, how exactly did you deal with the anger? Because I know that the anger, which is often hate for somebody, is detrimental more to the person that is holding on to that hate than it ever is to that person. So, how exactly did you deal with that hate or anger or whatever you want to call it to move on from that?
It took a lot of self reflection. It took a lot of looking at myself in the mirror and saying, is this how you want to live the rest of your life? Is this how you want to live, honoring your son? And I literally had to dig, and it was deep. And to find that light and to find that, he's not worrying about what Hope Reger is doing right now. That guy is not worrying about me or Justin or anything. And I knew that I had the strength in me to move from that point to do something positive. And even though it's a hole, grief's a hole in your heart and it's with you, but I knew that Justin would not want me to waste the rest of my life in that anger, ugly place. And it took a lot of self-reflection to get there. But it's also helped when I focused on something more positive than it was that negative, ugly hatred.
So, do you suggest people finding a positive release for their anger, their hate, their whatever it is in life? And how would you suggest that somebody can find that positive outlet?
So, in my program, I talk about hope and I talk about inspiration, and you have to find that why. That why is what gets you out of bed every morning. I don't know what that why is. Only you know what that why is. And that why may be your children's, it could be your job, it could be your purpose. You have to find that why. And one of the greatest gifts that grief gives people that grieve, and yes, there is a gift to it, is the acknowledgement of not wasting time. That you have to live in the present, you have to live in that moment, you have to live in order to not waste another day. And as you know, and what you say in your words is like, make every second count. That's one of the things that as we grieve and people that grieve, we realize that we don't get those tomorrows. Those tomorrows may or may not come, or they may be limited. Tomorrows may be limited. And that's one of the things that you have to find your why, and you have to dream it and live it and let it get you out of bed every single morning, because that is going to be so much better for you than getting out of bed with that anger in your heart. Trust me.
Yeah. I so agree with that statement because I know a lot of people that have held on to the anger in their heart, and it's really done negative things to them. And you wouldn't think it would, but it really does. So being angry, holding on to that hatred that you have really hurts some, really won't hurt somebody else, but it will hurt you.
Yes.
You know, I have a friend named Thomas Blackwell that he has done some experiments with words and the power of words. And hate is one of those words that really has a negative effect on us. It so I don't know who did this experiment, but it was done with blocks of ice. And these people are not blocks of ice, but cups of water. And with the cups of water, these people, like kids, came up to the water and they would speak to the water, one water in a positive way, the other water in a negative way. Now, I have no idea if this is true because it sounds a little weird to me, and I don't know how it would be true. But then they stuck those cups in the freezer. And I guess the cup that had been talked positive to will look perfect. It was like a perfect thing of ice, had no bubbles in it or anything. And then the cup that they talk negative to and use negative words at, I guess, was all messed up. Like it did not form well at all. Now, like I said, I have no idea if that is true. I've never tried that experiment myself, but that just goes to show you that those words, those negative emotions really have an effect on the host.
It's absolutely like I can see that, because listen, when we talk and when we're in anger and hatred and all that negativity, and that it speaks through us, and it speaks through our face, our emotions, our talk, and it affects us on the inside emotionally. Like that's exactly what I felt like. I would have had a hard time getting out of bed if all I had to look forward to was a negative, ugly day, right? that's why when, like you get ready to go to on vacation, you're excited. It's like Christmas. It's like
Yeah.
exciting. And you don't sit there and go, God, I hope there's not a typhoon, or I hope there's not rain. You don't think that way. You're excited about it. And that's the way
Uh,
you have to think
I
about
know
for your
some
day.
people that actually do that though.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you don't think of the negative side, but that's where you get up in the morning. And if you know you're going to have a great day, or it's not going to be negative and ugly, you're more apt to get out of bed and push yourself than if you were,
Yeah. There's a funny thing about that when you get up every day, because actually the first thing I do every morning is I post on Facebook. Now, I don't check comments, I don't look at my notifications or anything like that. But I get on Facebook and I post. I am so thankful to be given today, and I will make it a great day.
yes,
So just like you're saying, I set my intention on that day. And that has really helped me a lot. I believe that anybody out there, if they set an intention on their day, or set I just say thank you for the day and say that you're going to have a great day, and then refuse everything else that day, then how can your day be anything but great?
yes.
So, you were talking a little bit about your program.
Hmm.
Now, does your program help people that are dealing with the same kind of grief as you, different grief than you, or what kind of grief are we talking about here?
I love that question. So, grief to hope is open to anyone, and it can be any. And I don't try to say type of grief, but it's sort of like, when you have grief that's 3 days old, 30 days old, 13 years old. Grief is grief. And it doesn't matter if it's your son, your daughter, if it's tragic, if it's health, if somebody, experienced loss of their spouse through cancer, or something, an accident or something like that, suicide. It doesn't matter. We respect everyone's grief, everyone's level. And one of the greatest things that I tell people is, when you share your story, you're going to touch somebody that's dealing with that exact same
Yeah,
story. So that's in itself is the greatest thing about grief to hope, is that when we come together, I strive for everybody is respectful of thoughts, opinions, religious beliefs. Everything is respected in this group. And it doesn't, just because mine is my son and it was a tragic death, doesn't mean that your death that you're experiencing with your loss of your mother, and she lived a great long life, you're still dealing with grief. So we don't put those levels on it, or specify it, or we try to, like, yours is worse than mine severity. It's very open and it's very respected, for anybody. And we, of any person, any type, please join us.
now that is fantastic, and I love the fact that you're just inviting people in. That's amazing right there. So, how exactly do they become a part of your group?
Absolutely. It's all free. The Grief to Hope, it starts January 5th. It goes for 7 weeks. It's 1 hour each night, just virtual. You can come on. You don't have to be on camera. You can come in your jammies, drink some wine, have coffee, whatever.
Drink some wine.
Uh, we are open for whatever you're comfortable with. It's just getting you there. And if you don't want to speak, one of the greatest stories is, we had somebody join the program for the 7 weeks and never was on camera, never spoke. And she resonated with the person that was in that group. And the next time she joined, because you can come back, you can join, each week's different. You don't have to go through all 7 weeks. We'd love you to, but you don't have to. She rejoined 7 weeks, for another 7 week program, and talked. and came on camera. So it was just a remarkable, just that stage. But absolutely, you can reach out to me at my website, which is Grief to Hope, Grief, the number two, Hope Support.com. I'm on Hope Reger and Grief to Hope's on Facebook, Hope Reger and Grief to Hope's on LinkedIn, and then Grief to Hope is on Instagram. And then I just put out a book in July. For
Wow.
those of you who are not comfortable with being on virtual screens or being around others yet, I have Grief to Hope, the book, which walks you through my entire story and the program that you can absolutely get and read, and that's on Amazon.
That's awesome. So, all right, two questions here.
Yeah.
How much is the program, and how much is the book?
So the book is $4.99 Kindle, $9.99 for paperback, and you can get those through Amazon. My program is absolutely free. You just come, show
Wow.
up, and we do 7 weeks completely free. It is open to anyone, and it's definitely, you can find all the details on my website. If you want to ask me a question, you can ask me a question through the website. I answer those immediately or close to immediately as soon as I can, depending on where you're at. Sometimes people in other regions I can't get to if I'm asleep, but and it's January 5th, 7:30 Eastern. We do it for 1 hour. And the reason why I do it for 1 hour and I keep it to that hour is just because it's a tough hour. It's hard, and then people have other things they got to get done. So I try to really limit it to an hour, and it's basically we have a main discussion topic, then we open it up, and then I end with a quote. And like I said, you don't have to speak if you are not comfortable.
That is great. I thank you so much for what you do. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy evening to be here with me, my people, and everybody else that cares to watch this. But I do have to ask you one other thing.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody out there is going through grief. Say they just lost a parent or
Hmm.
something like that. Do you have, like, say, 3 steps that somebody could take to start to let them grieve?
Absolutely. I could tell you the first step is there is no specific way to grieve.
Oh,
Please,
bad
please do.
question then. Sorry.
There is no, your grief is your grief. It's completely individualized. It's like a snowflake or a fingerprint. Nobody else will grieve the way that you grieve. So why I say that is there's no wrong way to grieve. And if you're not going through, I know there's like 5 stages and all this kind of thing. That is it's a stage that you could rotate in and out, and there's different things that happen to you during grief. So first of all, you're not doing it wrong. There's no right way to do grief. Second, be patient with yourself and allow yourself to acknowledge the grief and feel the grief. And then I'd say the last is it's okay to say no to certain things that you're just not ready for. And especially around these holiday times, if you're dealing with grief and you just can't do it, you can't do the tradition, you can't do the putting up the tree. I know Justin, he passed away in November, and the thought of Christmas was like I couldn't put up a tree. And I still had to perform Christmas because I had grandkids, but
Yeah.
I still I couldn't put up the tree and I didn't want to. And I had to be okay with that. So please be patient with yourself and learn to say no and be okay with it.
So it's okay not to do certain things, even if somebody else is telling you it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody says, "Oh, come on," or "Get out of your funk," or let's just do it. It'll make you feel better. If you are not okay with it, then absolutely say and be. Of course, you can be kind about it, but I just say, "I'm not ready yet." And I hope to goodness I can do it next year, but this year I can't. And I hope that you understand. And I'm positive that they'll be okay with that.
Wow. That's amazing, and I hope that this program has helped somebody out there. I know, like when I lost my mom, I know that that was not easy.
Hmm.
That was something that was hard,
Hmm.
and I had to go through it, and I understand that, and I probably forced some things that I wasn't ready for.
Right.
So how exactly would you tell somebody that something is okay and they should just force themselves through it, or do you accept that they're probably hurting and you should be give some grace?
Yes, absolutely. Give grace. Please allow them to have that. Be there. I say all this all the time. If you have a friend or family member that's grieving, is to absolutely listen first. Sometimes that's all they need is you just to be there and listen. And a lot of times it's very awkward for those of you that's never been around grief. How do you don't know what to say or what? Sometimes you don't have to say anything. All you have to do is just be there and listen and let them talk about that loved one and let them talk about what they're feeling and not say a word because sometimes you don't know what they're going through and that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
That I I thank you. If not for other people out there, I thank you for helping me see some different aspects of grief, different aspects of my own grief on other people's grief, and yeah, just a very eye opening. And I thank you for that. But our time is come. And I have to remind you guys that we are here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, on this show called Make Every Second Count Live, where we help you guys deal with the things that you are going through in life. But I need everybody out there, including you, Miss Rieger, to make every second count. Why, you might ask? Because you never know when your seconds are going to run out on your one life. Hey, thanks again, Hope. You guys have a great night and hope you have a phenomenal evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.